Hey, how y'all doing today? We are so glad to be here with you all with Committed and Covered this week. My name is Juliette Wise, and I'm the leader of the Singles Ministry. We haven't seen y'all in a while, so we're just glad to see you all and hope you join us as we have this conversation. So today, we're diving deep into this powerful conversation, y'all, right?
Yes,
we are.
And this conversation is about Boaz and Ruth. You know, a lot of times people talk about Boaz.
Yeah.
Right? They talk about finding your Boaz.
Finding your Boaz.
Not finding the wrong Boaz, right? And so they talk a lot about the story of Boaz. And we want to talk about a tale of boldness and breakthrough in dating. But before we begin, I just want to share a little bit with you, right? Let's set the stage for Ruth's remarkable journey. Ruth was a woman who faced immense grief. I recognized as I was preparing for today that oftentimes we don't talk about in detail the grief that Ruth was experiencing. We talk about Naomi, we talk about a lot of things that she was dealing with, but we don't often talk about Ruth's grief, right? Ruth had lost her husband, she lost her father-in-law, and she also lost her brother-in-law. But yet in the midst of her sorrow and possible fears of marginalization, she showed incredible courage and loyalty. She refused to leave Naomi. Like, she could have gone back to her family.
She could have.
But she refused to leave Naomi. One, it tells me she had a good mother-in-law, right?
Yes. A good relationship with her
good
mother-in-law.
relationship with her mother-in-law.
Yes.
The other one is Ruth was a devoted woman. Ruth was truly a devoted woman. And she declared, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Naomi must have been amazing. I want to reiterate that. And so as we go into this story, I wanted to kind of set the stage of Ruth's story so that we can kind of get in touch with her. You see, we have all ladies today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ladies today. This is our team. This is our Fuse team here at Oakwood. And let me tell you a little bit about Fuse because I didn't define it for you. So Fuse is Faith Uniting the Singles Experience. And that is our singles ministry here at Oakwood Church. Can you guys tell them a little bit about who you are?
Yes, so I'm Dr. Tanya Jackson, lovingly known as Anya. I am a member of Fuse, been a member of Fuse for a while now, and it has definitely been a blessing for creating community, for creating a social environment, an environment where we can learn and to move the Christ within us as singles.
Yeah.
And my name is Latoya Sinclair. I'm pretty new to Fuse, just about a year. And I'm like Ruth, coming from a different different culture and settling in here, not actually trying to find my Boaz.
But you never know.
Hoping to find a Boaz.
It wasn't the goal, but you know what the Ruths know either.
I'm a motivational speaker, and my proud achievement is being a mother to my adult daughter.
Thank you, Latoya and Anya. I'm so glad you guys have joined today.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here, and I'm happy about this conversation. So let's just get right into it, okay?
Yes, do that.
So the first question is, how do you guys think Ruth's losses shaped her journey in courage? How do you think her losses shaped her journey and shaped her courage?
Well, I think Ruaz, sorry.
That's all right.
I think she stepped into her state of purpose, because if you look at what she did, she kind of took the place of her husband as being the covering for Naomi. So I think she found her purpose in her loss. And a lot of times that can happen when we lose things or when something happens to us that is very dramatic. We can change that or shift that, or it allows us, it gets us in such a pace where we are still enough that we can find that there's something in that is for us.
Yeah.
And I think what was in the loss for her was her purpose. Being able to now be the covering for Naomi.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and as I look at Ruth, I realize that loss is meant to lead us to Christ.
Yes.
Because as she experienced this loss with her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law losing also her husband,
Yes.
and her two sons, Ruth did not decide to go back to her country. And Ruth is a Moabite.
Yes.
And Moabites are descendants of Lot and Lot's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruth's descendants, or the Moabites, would be seen as people who should not have nothing to do
Yes.
with Israelites, right?
Yeah.
They were adulterous, idolaters,
Yes, looked down upon. Yes.
So she came from a background where there should not have been no association, first of all. But it was a famine that occurred in Bethlehem, which brought Naomi to Moab, where her sons actually married Ruth and, Orpah. Now, when I look at Ruth, I realize that in seeing Naomi and the way that she acted and she carried herself as a mother-in-law and as a
Yes.
Christian or, a present-day Israelite, she saw that she did not want to go back to where she came from. So that loss in losing her husband actually had her to say to her mother-in-law that, entreat me not to leave you.
Yeah.
Right.
Because wherever you go, I'll go. Your people will be my people. Where you live, I'll live. And most of all, your God will be my
Yes.
God.
Oh, good. Yes, yes. And that, when you think about that, that must have been a place of real fear for her, because knowing her culture and how they were looked down upon. And so she was going into a land away from, because they were in her country at the time. And so they were leaving her country, going to a place where she was looked down upon.
Yeah.
She was an immigrant.
Yeah, and
We
how,
have that thing that's going on, so.
Anya, thank you for bringing that out, because that so many people can relate to, right? Whether it is you joining a church, or whether it is you becoming a part of a family.
Yes, yes.
Or you being of a different race. You know what I'm saying? There's so many places that you can be going into a new space, but because of your belief, because of your loyalty, like Ruth, because of her love for her mother, she went beyond that. And in her courage and her love and her devotion, she wanted to be with her mom. So thank you for bringing that out, because that is really powerful. That is super powerful. So tell me this, and we might have just addressed this a little bit. What fears might she have faced? If we break those fears down a little bit more, and I think, Anya, you were kind of saying that just now. What fears might she have faced going into this foreign land?
Well, other than, being ostracized, because, here she is as a broken woman, because now she is a widowed woman. Now she's a widowed woman with a responsibility, because she now has Naomi. And she's a widowed woman without a child, so other men may look upon her as she's without a child. Can she have child?
Yeah.
Is she
That's
barren?
true.
So
Yeah.
all of these things, she's
Wow.
walking into a new land thinking, wow, how will I be perceived? How will I be looked? Will I be accepted?
Yes. That's true. And how often are those questions in the minds? And we're just going to focus on single women today because we have beautiful women up here today, right? But how often are those thoughts in the mind of a woman or man when they are seeking to join with someone or be in partnership with someone, especially if they're in a new community, especially if they're joining in space? And sometimes those thoughts may be there, may not be there, but how often are they there, right?
I think it's always there. I think it's also a motivation to push you into actually achieving. It can also be something that causes you fear to come in, so you would want to not approach whatever you would have to approach. But I think it is always there. It's a feeling that you just have because you're human and you went through that particular experience. However, it can either drive you, propel you to go forward and to reach out for what you want, like in Ruth's case, or it can cause fear to have you to stay away or maybe go back to your own country.
Yeah. Because Orpah went back.
He said, not me.
She said, thank you, I love you, but I am going home.
Yes, she did. She did.
Orpah did go back. So thank you for that. So before we dive into that second part, because Naomi really helped Ruth, right?
She did.
Naomi really helped Ruth and guided her. And when we talk about Ruth at the threshing floor, Ruth's actions at the threshing floor were significant, right? She followed Naomi's instructions to go to Boaz's threshing floor at night, where she laid down at his feet. The act was a culturally significant gesture, often interpreted as a way of expressing her interest in Boaz and seeking his protection as her potential kinsman redeemer.
Yes.
When you guys hear that, before I go into our question, what are the things that come to your mind when you first hear that, when I read that out loud? Anything that comes up first?
I see Naomi as wanting to be there for Ruth and wanting to assure that Ruth is not just covering her, but she is covering Ruth as well, and finding a way to push Ruth into the forefront, so that Ruth is not only just doing for Naomi, but Naomi is in turn reciprocating that love and that affection. And pushing her forward, and actually she's helping Ruth as well, because Ruth accepted her faith, Naomi's faith, and so she's helping Ruth to operate in her faith, having faith in her God, having faith in the decisions that Naomi is making to push you out there. Ruth could have been, no, I can't do this, but Naomi's saying, this is what my God is telling me. Do this. So in the respect and the faith of Ruth, knowing Naomi's God and how Naomi had such faith in her God, it gave her the confidence to actually move.
Yeah, I thank you for that. Because when we talk about intimacy in relationships, we were talking about intimacy and connection. That connection that Naomi and Ruth had, her trust for Naomi to listen, because she knew she wanted the best for her, and Naomi wanted to protect her. She wanted to protect them. She said, we need a game plan. But that intimate relationship that they had, and sometimes it's so important for us to understand those levels of intimacy, because intimacy is often in that space of what we do a lot of and what we try to cultivate and fuse, which is building community. And that community oftentimes being in the space of women being next to one another and covering one another and showing up for one another in those spaces of grief, or to push you, be your, what is it called? Your co-pilot? What is it called when you go on a date and you have a friend that comes there, or your... Y'all don't know the name. It's called anybody on know? It's a it's not a co-pilot. It's a the sidekick, but it's a whole word for it. But I can't think of it. But you often need that encouragement to just keep you going and to help you to remember that one, God is with you, your friend is with you, your mother is with you, your sister is with you. So anything else?
Yes. The word says that anyone who seeks counsel is wise.
Yes.
So the fact that she would know that she is in the presence of a wise woman, and I'm sure it would have been by the example that Naomi actually set for Ruth, that she knew she could have trust in Naomi. She knew that she could have trust in Naomi's God. When you are in the presence of people who are wise and they have a relationship with God, you have some sort of comfort there that you can actually rely on. And although the instructions that she would have received from Naomi was quite risky, but there was no record that she said, no, I can't do this. Why would you want me to
how dare you
put myself in front of the man
and his feet
at
night? Right.
especially in the culture.
Right, right. And I'm so glad you brought up the risk because third wheel, thank you, Nicole. You saw me trying to find it. Right? It is third wheel, wing woman. That's the other word for it.
Oh, wow,
Your
okay.
wingman or your wing woman. I could not, the third wheel is like, but the wing woman is trying to work it out for you, looking out to see who else is out there. Let me help you get to it. Right?
I got you.
And so, but I'm glad you brought that up, Latoya, the risk, right? Because when we think about that risk, I want us to go in that part of the conversation. Let's talk about that. Was Ruth's decision to approach Boaz at the threshing floor assertive or risky? Or could it have been seen as assertive or risky? What y'all think?
I think it could have been seen as all of the above. But, like Latoya was saying, she was following the suggestion or the movement or the instruction of a wise woman. And so that gave her comfort in knowing that although this is outside of my box, outside of my comfort zone, I can find comfort in knowing that I am following the instructions of my mother-in-law. And my mother-in-law knows this Boaz. She knows his people, she knows his kin, she knows his character. So you think about all of those things that I don't know, but this wise woman who is telling me, she knows.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the character of Boaz too, if you look further in the story, and when she's on the threshing floor, and he asked her, when he woke and saw her at his feet, he asked her, "Who are you?" But he already knew who she was.
Yes, he was. Yes, he did.
So what he was really asking is, "Why are you here?"
Yes.
So he didn't assertive and expect that, hey, she's here because of yada yada yada, and then I'll just take what I want. He wanted to see, what brings you here?
What is your intention?
Yes, thank you. What is your intention? And so she said to him, I am here because you are my redeemer.
Oh, mercy,
Think
y'all.
about that.
You are my redeemer.
How to save
Mercy.
Come on now.
She said, I'm here on a mission because you are my redeemer. You might not know yet, but I'm here to tell you, right?
So he gave her that space to allow her to set the pace of how it would go, pretty much go down, how it would go down. And then even when she told him, he was honorable in his actions towards that, because he said, yes, I can be your redeemer, but there is one closer in our hierarchy of family than me. So I must first go to him. So he was being respectful.
He was a man of character.
So
he was fighting for his girl also.
You said, well, Latoya.
He was fighting for his girl.
Tell me what you mean.
I'll let him finish.
No, go ahead. I want to hear this.
Okay, so like you, I believe it was both assertive and risky, because the boldness that would have her to approach him, and in their culture, in our contemporary time, that's proposing to a man.
Yes.
Oh,
wow.
See, I didn't know that. Tell me more.
Like that. Wow. Okay. That's going deeper than I.
Right.
Yes, she was intentional in her actions.
Okay.
She saw where she was. She needed to find food. She had no, they needed.
Right.
It came from nothing. There was a famine. So, if there's a famine, they would have lots of loss experience. So she needs to reclaim, pull her, fill in her coffers, as we would see. So she went in there, and that's what the assertiveness in her character came from, by approaching it with intentionality and, foregoing all the cultural barriers and norms that would exist during this time, especially between her being a Moabite and the Israelites or Judah. And the risky part of it is that when Naomi, like you mentioned, asked her to cover her head at his feet, this actually is a request for marriage or protection, because Naomi made not suggested. She told her that she should do this after she understood or she found out who Boaz was.
Repeat it again for Latoya. Slow it down a little bit. You're giving us a lot of information here, right? Come back. I want you to bring it back again. You said when she told her to cover her head. Can you tell us that again? Tell the people what you said.
When she covered, Boaz's feet, lying down at his feet. She was symbolically asking him to, here I am, present, because going at somebody's feet is actually a form of submission.
Yes.
So that's what she did, and of course, they would have covered their head, and the fact that she could have actually asked him for this, because Naomi knew that he would have helped her to get back what she would have lost. So it was actually saying, here I am. I need you to cover me. I need your protection. I need your support. I need your security. I need you to feed me, Here I am. It's a request for marriage and protection. And this is when, in response to this behavior or this action, that Boaz would have said, I can't do all of this. I would want to do all of this. Right? I mean, he has observed her in the field. He saw her, what she did. He told his men, leave more grain for her so she can pick up. He's giving a little extra on the side. And then he would tell his men, do not leave more grain for her. Just give her permission to just walk through the fields and take what she wants as she pleases. He had already gone through that part. Maybe that we can call that the courtship part. Maybe. But I guess Naomi is like, I need you to propose to him right now.
Yes.
And therein lies as well, a feeling of comfort, because she already know that she found favor in his eyes. So
that's
so
important
that
too.
can help her as well, being able to be more assertive and bold, because she already got that, that hint that hey, I'm interested in you.
Exactly, and Naomi had been giving her the game. So she was helping her to slowly get to that space. I want to acknowledge our people really quick that are here. Look, Latoya, your mommy's here.
Hi, Mama's in the house.
I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge those there. Please keep adding to this conversation. This is an absolutely powerful conversation. But I want to get back to this question, because as we continue to move into that and we think about assertiveness in this time, assertiveness for the dating woman in this society, how do we define that? What does that look like? Latoya, wait. We just had a whole guide.
Cultural barriers, right? And the time that we're living in. If we have to be a Ruth now, let me add that Ruth was not desperately seeking someone who did not want to be
in
with
her purpose.
She was acting in her purpose. She saw what it was, and I believe her acceptance of Jesus Christ, that a relationship with him, and I could imagine, Naomi, studying with Ruth and telling her about the books of Moses, and Ruth is feeling empowered, like, what God has for me, I'm going to get it. But in today's society, with this personality trait of being assertive and reaching out for what you think that God has for you, you may look like you're being pushy. You're being desperate, and this is what allows us, as single ladies, being in the single ministry, to be seen as the stigma attached to it, like you just want a man or you want a woman. So much so, and that falls more on the women, because there are men who are waiting on their Ruth. But the phrase that you would hear is searching for Boaz, because women are a bit more intentional in this area, and especially when it comes to the expectations of society. So trying to be like Ruth by seeking or putting yourself out there, I mean, it has its barriers, especially with descendants. Maybe your mom would say to you, no, your dad proposed to me. So what you're talking about, you're going to put yourself forward, to another man. It's because it has happened over a period of time. Like it should not happen today.
And go ahead.
I'm going to take it from another perspective. If we look at Ruth and we look at what she was doing, she was acting like I said, in her purpose. She was putting her house together.
Yeah.
You know, she was going about her business, putting her house together, doing what she had to do to provide for herself and Naomi. All right. So that means that she was creating structure in herself. She was growing. She was learning of herself and learning how to provide for herself. You know, she was structuring her house. She wasn't, and as well as she was going about her business, doing what she needed to do, and therefore she got seen. She got seen. I'm kind of losing my thought process, but she was seen as a woman of character and as a woman that had means, even though she didn't have means, because she was able to go about doing the things that she needed to do to get to structure, put things in structure.
Okay,
So, and if we think about being an assertive in these days, it's like, well, I need to make sure that I have myself together first, that I have myself together mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. So build your house, get your house together, because that's what I was trying to find out. Get your house together, because that's what she was doing first.
Yeah,
You know?
and the thing was, she, you know, I have a little bit of a different perspective because she wasn't intentionally preparing.
Right.
She-
Not for Boaz.
Not
Yeah.
for Boaz. She was grieving. They were trying to survive.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that too, it is understanding, I agree with you in saying understanding yourself, understanding who you are, and trusting your relationship with God, the wisdom that you get from those surrounding you. And then not always worrying about what those on the outside may think because of their perception of your assertion. You know, now I do not agree with this proposing all these videos on Instagram. I'm not proposing to nobody. No, I think I'll just be single. But I think that in this context and learning to understand what was happening here, we understand that there was a greater mission and that Naomi was leading her. And I'm not judging anybody who chooses to propose. I just don't. I don't think that God has called me to do that. And so. But I think that when we understand assertiveness versus aggression, I think that's a big thing to understand the difference between. What do you guys think the difference is between being assertive and aggressive?
I think one is assertive is putting yourself in a space where there is opportunity.
Yeah.
Assertive is while you're in that space, you're pushing to make opportunity happen that may not be for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that
Say that last part. What you said, you think aggression
where you're actually in that space and you're actually operating outside of I don't want to say you're not operating. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. Sorry.
You're not operating with discernment, maybe? You're not
There you go.
operating
That's a
with
good word. You're not
intention or
You're operating
with self. You're
discernment.
just operating within self or what?
Yeah.
Like anything but discernment.
You're not operating in a wise manner. You're not operating with a sense of discernment. You're not operating with a sense of integrity.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
self-satisfaction.
And I want to check the comments real quick because I saw Teresa say, waiting on the Lord is tough, but I enjoy the freedom the single life brings until. And then Drea, hey Drea, hey Teresa too. Drea says she was working Naomi in her faith by her actions. Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
Right? And I'm sorry, Latoya, go ahead.
Yeah. For me, assertiveness as a woman in dating means, well, let me steal a line from Shakespeare's Hamlet. To thine own self, be true.
Yeah.
You know, the authenticity of knowing who you are
Yes.
and what you want, being confident and being clear about who you are, what you want, what you need, and not compromising by any measure, especially with your faith, your belief. While you are still being kind, you know,
Yeah.
being respectful, being
It's-
open.
yeah.
So this is the you ask like what's the
The difference.
The difference. Yeah, you know what you want. You're confident, and as long as you're sticking to your values, you're being true to
Yes.
yourself. Then my
Yeah.
girl, you get it. You're expressing your desires, your needs, and you're setting boundaries to see exactly what you want, what you will accept, or what is allowed in your space.
Yeah. And tell me this, you guys. I was listening to a video earlier today, and he was saying that Ruth was able to attract Boaz. And of course, there's different people have their different perspectives because of her ability to stand in the strength of her feminine space. What do you all think about when it said, when there's a language used of standing in that feminine strength in order that it allows the courage of the masculine part of a man to show up? What it comes up for you guys when I say that? When we're talking about assertion, I'll tell you first what it means for me. It is standing in that space of calm, standing in that space of kindness, standing in the space of compliment, standing in that space of giving, gratitude. When we think about Ruth, she stood in the space of humility, right?
Yes.
She stood in the space of loyalty. She showed up. She listened to her mother-in-law. And so when we think of feminine, I think sometimes we shape feminine in these spaces that, I don't know, you know, we have all these conversations on the internet. I watch a lot of it because it's a lot of what I enjoy doing. But when we think about it, it's so much more to the character of a woman that can allow that space in a man to rise to his greatest self, right? And so when we understand what truly is assertion in that space of standing in her feminine, that also meant just showing up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Continuing to be seen on purpose.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But not like, hey, here I am.
Yeah.
You know? But
Right,
continuing to show up in character and showing interest and showing intent without the aggression.
Right. I got you.
Right? And so tell me anything that you all have from that. Anything you get
I
from
like that because, you know, if you look at the Bible says you have not because you ask
That
not.
part.
You know, and so, you know, if you look at, in that respect, if you look at Ruth and on the threshing floor, when he asked her, you know, who are you? Why are you here? That was her ask.
Yes.
What did she say? She says,
Oh.
I am here because you are.
Yes.
That
my
was
way
her
to-
ask.
That's right.
That was her ask, you know, and you know, if you look at that in context of today, it also means that if we want to be, if we want to have another partner, if we want to a relationship, we have to get outside of our boxes.
Yes, we do.
You know, I was telling my sister today, you know, nobody knocks on the door anymore but Amazon and Domino's.
Right,
You know,
and
so
Uber Eats,
so
and
if we want to
Uber.
see somebody. So if we want to see somebody, we want to put
Gotta get
ourselves
out.
that we have to get out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we have to get out there and we have to go outside of our box to not only the places that we've always been, you know, if you want something different, try something different. You know, go to SEC tournaments, you know,
Yeah.
do a girls trip to the SEC tournament.
Position yourself.
Yes. And if you want a
Exactly.
brother from another mother, go to soccer.
Yes.
Or baseball, you know, Madison Field, you know, go see the Trash Pandas.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
go to a hockey game, you know. Go to places where you think you will
I was gonna say to
be
go to Target,
seen
but we'll
by-
go there.
Go to No, we're not going to Target anymore. We don't go to Target anymore. But put yourself on the threshing floor of availability to,
Yeah.
you know, what you are requesting, what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Position yourself.
Yes,
Exactly.
position yourself.
Position
Yes.
yourself, and as believers, we position ourselves in service.
Yes.
You know, you show up when you're needed, and even when you're not needed, you place yourself in a position where you can help someone, because this is what Boaz saw Ruth doing.
Yes.
Service to help herself and to help Naomi. This is
Yes.
what so. And when he spoke to her, he asked her who she was. He then realized, and he said, "Oh, I know you because I heard the good things that you have done
Yes.
to my relative who was Naomi." So when you find yourself in these positions where you can place yourself, you can position yourself, you can be of service, the word travels.
Yes, it does. It definitely does. And I think I want to jump back to what you were saying, Anya, for a minute too, because it is allowing yourself to to enjoy life and be intentional about being in spaces. I often follow this coach online. His name is, Anwar, the dating coach. And he is a dating coach specifically for Black women. Y'all check him out. We are not giving a commercial, guys. But dating, Anwar is the dating coach. But he often talks about how we limit our own selves in dating. Oftentimes as Black women, we say, I'm only going to date in my race. I'm only going to, and that's one thing. Or sometimes we say, well, you got to make this amount of money. You got to do this kind of job. You have to have this, and the other. Now, does that mean we can't have our standards? Does that mean we cannot have the things that we desire or expect or whatever it may be? Yes, we can have all of those things. However, what he talks about often is statistics. They're not checking for you. So while we're over here trying to say, I'm just going to hold on. Right? Is there a problem with opening up that space? And are we often limiting ourselves from being able to be in spaces where we have more, access with the word, opportunity, access, and then stepping outside of your comfort zone, whether that's in service, whether that's enjoying life, going out, top golf, smiling, enjoying your own spirit. But if you desire to date, being intentional in that space, learning about the challenges within me. You know, oftentimes, what do we talk about? There's something in the pool, right? And it's all messed up out here. But we have to also identify if we are part of that waste in the pool. And if I'm not taking the time to dissect myself to say, am I communicating well? Am I expressing my needs? Am I willing to flirt a little bit, to smile a little bit, to show interest a little bit? Or am I over here waiting with my hands crossed, saying, okay, well, they need to come to me? Do I need to shift a little bit? Am I a little bit rigid? Are the things happening in my space that are holding me back? Is it that there are no good men out there, or can I not see beyond my blinders? And so it's being able to identify within ourselves what is holding us back as women, since we're up here as women today, in that space of dating. Am I, one, standing in the space of service, asking God for discernment, but am I also making myself available? Am I assessing myself? Am I assessing my past dating history and where I want to go? And am I setting an intention? The same way I'm going to set an intention in my relationship with God. The same way I'm going to set an intention in my relationship with my money, with my children, with my friends. Am I setting an intention in my space of dating, ladies? All right? So let me go to this next question. It may go here because I'm not totally sure. How can singles today apply, and we might have answered this, so I'm going to go into the next one. But the text in that space was, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Y'all, it's my belief that God desires what we desire. But I think oftentimes we are the problem in our own plan. Right? We get stuck in this space of saying, oh, he must be in here. He might not be in this room. You ain't seen him, right? But they may be in some other spaces that we have, visiting other churches, different things like that. Have you stepped outside of yourself? Is it also okay? We're going to go into this space of expressing desire and overcoming stigma. Is it okay for me to desire to date? Why is it so often that we get afraid, or not necessarily us in general, right? That oftentimes it seems like people become afraid of expressing their desire to date. And I think, LaToya, you touched on this a little bit earlier. Because sometimes we get afraid of thinking we're desperate, or, I don't know, like people always running from the singles ministry.
Fear of rejection, for sure.
But if we look at the Bible,
And judgment.
the first book of the Bible is what? Genesis? And in the first book of the Bible, God defined that man is what? Not to be alone. That Adam was what? Lonely, and he needed what? A mate. That's the first book of the Bible. So that tells you that we are made for community. You know, we're not made to be alone. You know, so whether that is a community of just your family of friends, your community of your circle, or being married, having children, your community of that, there is burning desire in us, and not burning, an innate desire.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. There's an innate desire in us as humans for community.
And it can be
whatever
burning
that
too.
looks like. Whatever
Right,
that looks like for you.
exactly, because there is an innate, and there is also, I think, sometimes a burning desire, but it's natural is what I hear
Yes.
you saying. It's a natural desire to want to be and to desire to be in a relationship. Well, I want to stand on this point for a moment, because I find that oftentimes it seems that single women, I'm only, like I said, I'm going to keep saying on women today, are often, it almost seems like there's a bit of shame carried on in the body language of talking about that singleness, or the need to not say I'm lonely, or the need to not say I wish I was dating someone. But what we don't realize, in our inability to be present with that, we have an inability to be vulnerable. So then how do you think you're going to show up vulnerably when somebody comes? If I can't say that I desire this,
Yes,
if I can't say that it is difficult for me, it doesn't mean that's my identity. It doesn't mean that I can't function, but it means that I'm able to express that I desire my natural desire, which is to be in companionship. I just want to encourage you guys in that space, because sometimes I think we get lost. But here's the next question. How can we navigate external pressures while staying true to our personal desires?
Ooh, that's a deep one. LaToya.
I need to drink a little water. How can we navigate external pressures while staying true to our personal desires?
Like I said, to thine own self be true. One thing I've realized, that being vulnerable, being transparent, aware of your strengths and your weaknesses, your faults, knowing that is who you are, you know, it is easier for you to be able to stand out.
Yeah.
And when you have accepted who you are, you are not so concerned with what people see about you, because you know who you are. And this is what God wants us to know. He wants us to not put a low opinion on ourselves, like the prophetess says, that we need to see our worth, see that we are created for purpose. So when we know who we are, when we can understand who we are, we can accept who we are, then we can stand out there, maintain the values, not compromising. I mean, not compromising our beliefs. But then, you know, we can, you know, there are certain things that in meeting you, like you do not want to go out to meet someone, like you already mentioned. You need to compromise a bit with yourself by putting yourself out there. So this is the compromise that can be done, but not with your beliefs or your values. And when you go out there, you're able to stand without fear. Without fear of rejection or fear of being judged, because you know who you are.
I think that's beautiful.
And then you did. But the thing with society is that you're seen as a desperate woman. You are to remain quiet and just wait for
Handmaid's Tale.
And also, and there's still a bit of double standard in there, because if Ruth decided to stay in, someone would have said, you know, Ruth is able to go and get grain for herself and she's just staying in. And if she would go out, someone else would have said, you just walked into the man's fields and you took his grain. So the double standard with society. The double standard with society, especially when it comes to the feminist movement, as to when you should stand tall as a woman and strong, and when you should not, it kind of affects single women, you know, in society today.
I love what you said. You are such a good storyteller, LaToya. Like when you're expressing things, because it's like, oh, that's so beautiful. Just like the way you said that, right? But it's like, I love how you emphasize when we truly know ourselves, right? That's the beauty of, I love talking about the levels of intimacy. When you have that intimate relationship with yourself, those external pressures, those external judgments, those external perceptions, or whatever they may be, cannot shake your ground.
Yes.
Because you understand who you are, and you also have that intimate relationship with God where you're able to get the discernment, to get the guidance, and to get the direction if you're continuing to ask questions, if you're continuing to nurture and cultivate those relationships, right?
Yes.
And so I'm gonna ask this question. We may have addressed this. So you guys tell me if you have nothing else on it, right? But it says, is it okay to express our desires openly and honestly in dating? I want you to give me an example of what that means, right? Expressing your desires honestly and openly in dating. Some practical things that show up in dating where you're expressing yourself honestly and openly. Hey, Dr. Hyman. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Dr. Hyman.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So I think that, well, the answer is yes. Because at all times, like you said, we need to be true to ourselves, but you not only need to be true to yourself, you need to be true to the situation and the space that you're standing in. And you can't expect someone else to want to come into your space and deal with them in a manner that is not respectful, a manner that's not godly.
Yeah.
So we always, no matter how you feel about yourself, because sometimes people don't have that confidence in self. But we always need to be able to, if we're expecting or pulling other people to us, we need to be courageous enough to be ourselves and to show up as ourselves and to speak those things that we like and want and those things that we don't. Because some of us are a little bit aged. We don't have a lot of time to waste, so we don't want to come into a space where people are being dishonest
Nobody has
and
time.
fake. Right. So, yes, you need to speak. But there's a manner in which you should do it. There's a manner to do it wise and with dignity and with respect.
Right. And femininity. Because the thing is, when you think about it, is it okay to express our desires openly? I want us to give some examples because I think oftentimes we have difficulty expressing our desires. When I'm talking about desires, what do we mean by desires? I want you to be a man that prays over me.
Yes.
I want you to be a man that can cover me in prayer. I want you to be a man that exercises. I want you to like to cook. I want you to be able to have a joyful personality. I want you not to have so rigid conversations. You can talk about God, but you can talk about life too. What do we have the ability to express our desires? I think that sometimes we may shy away from understanding, am I expressing my desires? And if I am not, do I even know what they are? Right? And so when we come back to that question, is it okay to express our desires? And in order to express our desires, we need to know what they are.
Yes.
I think this is part of being assertive. Yeah. You know what you want.
Yeah.
You stand in your purpose. And I know, confidence has been, the definition of words has been commercialized so much right now. So confidence is based on who you are.
Yeah.
So you see there are so many things. Confidence is based on what you have and what you look like. That's what society tells you. So there are so many things. Yeah. There are so many things being sold out there for people to accumulate and to men as sinful beings, we believe that's where confidence comes from. But as a believer, confidence has nothing to do with how I look outside. Because if you look at Ruth, with her assertiveness, I think confidence came with it, and she had nothing. She had nothing whatsoever.
She actually lost
She
everything.
had no six-figure bank account. And she had to get everything, and she had to get herself together emotionally, because I'm a widow also, and when you've had suffered, and you're a therapist, you suffered that type of loss. You mentioned that earlier on. You go through different changes in your hormones and the way your mind works, and it is made for you to grow, but it's a process that you go through, and you know the different steps and the changes that your body goes through. And God Himself knows it so well, even though He's not a woman. But He has always placed emphasis on the fact that we should look after the widows.
Yeah.
And then Ruth gave us this example by her being confident and assertive, not having anything. I'm sure she was a beautiful woman to have caught the eyes of there. And to add this again, she was not the only woman in the field. She was not the only woman. I'm sure there would have been other virgins, people who have not been married and who were good prospects. But God had a plan for it. And I guess at the end of this discussion would really put it together that God's plan for Ruth that would have been with our salvation today. And when we understand our confidence is knowing whose we are, who we belong to. And because there's such a price on us that money cannot cover, we belong to God. And there's no price that can be placed on our lives. When we understand this, we realize that we do not need material things. I mean, it's an additional bonus.
Right, let's not.
But when you know the price that God has on you and you understand that He gave Jesus, even through Ruth's story by her and Boaz later on being married, then you walk in purpose.
Yes, and I thank you so much for that, because what I want us to be able to understand is in those ways of walking in purpose, in that building that confidence within you, in building that relationship with God, and yourself, working through your therapy, working through your losses, working through understanding, working through your insecurities, working through all of those things. When you work through those spaces, especially when you're broken, because in the grief that I've been experiencing recently in losing my sister, I have found that my heart has been so open, and it's because it's been in a broken space.
Yes, yes.
But when your heart is open in that manner, right, you're bare, right?
Vulnerable.
You're vulnerable. And so in that vulnerable space, we can feel that vulnerability with something that would be maladaptive, or we can use it as a space of planting. A space to feed, to plant seeds, to grow. And when I think about Ruth, Ruth was in a space of vulnerability. Ruth was in a space of pain. She had great loss. And so I don't know how much work she had within her, but she did have a great support, right? And so when we come back to that, because I want us to really, what'd she say?
It says Ruth met Boaz while serving, not seeking. She was doing the Lord's work. She respected her mother-in-law and honored her. God in turn blessed her.
And so thank you so much for that, Hazel, because when we understand these things and we come back to this part right here, because I think it's really important for the Christian women to understand this. And that's why I keep coming back to it, right? Is that we can have the foundation of the Word of God, but do you fundamentally know how to be in relationship? You may have profound understanding of being in relationship with God, but do you know how to be in relationship and date a person? Like, do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to express what you like and you do not like? Do you know how to understand what your boundaries are? Do you understand that it's okay to say no? It's okay to still be loved in the space of no. Do you know how to walk away? This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying expressing desires, overcoming stigma. Because what we don't realize is that we can spiritualize to a space where we have no idea how to be in a relationship.
Say it.
And so what I want you all to understand is, do you understand that? So when we talk about that, we say, how can we learn if it's okay to express our desires openly and honestly? I think that's an area that we got to grow in.
I agree. Because you can be rooted in faith, but not know self. You need to be structured in the Word, but we also need to have a definitive understanding of you were just saying about who we are, not only whose we are, but who we are, and who we are, understanding that how we can operate in a space, or even if that's a space that we need to be in, and that's a part of, sometimes we need to get by ourselves and spend time in getting to know ourselves, and that changes over the seasons of our lives. I'm not who I was at 20. And I'm not who I was at 40. I'm not going to tell my age, but I may not be who I am. So at different seasons of our lives, we change. Seasons change. And as seasons change, our desires change. And as our desires change, we change. And how we perceive or how we act in certain situations change too. We grow, and as we
Yeah.
grow and
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
and knowledge, we become more women.
And we become more present.
Yes.
And I love the way you said that as women, because women are absolutely amazing. We are the life, right?
Yes. A life giver.
Yes, the life giver. We hold this.
Yes.
And so if we don't truly understand what we hold and what we carry, we will walk in the space of shame and covering. And oftentimes we don't understand that shame and covering comes in intellectualizing,
Yes.
spiritual bypassing, avoiding emotions, hiding in our houses, waiting for the Uber Eats men,
Yes.
waiting for the Amazon men, hiding behind anger, hiding behind whatever bitterness. But when we talk about Ruth and we talk about this story, we want to understand that spiritual application, and we want to also understand the relational application, because a big part of this conversation is we want to understand as women, what are we in? I don't know what season this is. Is this like, what dating season this is? Like, we're not young adults anymore. I like to consider myself as a young adult. But
yourself.
what are we? What are we called?
Happy post-season. Happy post-7. Oh, okay.
So,
Been there.
Right, whatever it is, right? But we want to be able to understand in whatever season we are, that this is a holistic game. This is a holistic, and just we have a couple of more minutes, okay? I'm coming to it. This is a holistic space. It's a holistic understanding. So we want to understand the Word of God. We want to have an intimate relationship, spiritual intimacy. Then we want to have emotional intimacy.
Yes.
And we need that emotional intimacy with ourselves. We want to have intellectual intimacy,
Yes.
the ability to stimulate in the space of conversation, physical and sexual intimacy when we're ready, when we're married. I ain't encouraging you. So the thing is, what I'm saying is there are levels to this.
Yes. Yes.
And you have to understand there are levels to this. And that first comes with acknowledging, do I desire to be in a space of dating? And if I desire that, and I feel like I don't have the tools, do I have community that can help guide me in that space? Am I asking God? Am I being honest with God?
And are you whole enough to be in that space?
Are
Because
you
you
whole
needed
enough?
not to operate until you are at that point.
Yes. Yes.
I want to add to what you were saying there. Serving God is holistic, like you mentioned. So your dating life is not separate from the theology, should I say, of being a Christian, because God has guided us, like we were talking about Ruth there right now. So it does not operate on itself. Your intimacy, your relationship, your community should not operate on itself. It should be holistic with God in the middle. So what I think we're seeing sometimes is that in theory, we know God. But when it comes to being practical, we fail. Because we're not exercising the faith by trusting to put Him in every area in our life. Asking Him for guidance in dating, asking Him for wisdom, for discernment. So, He can place maybe a Naomi in our life to give us the advice. And Ruth's journey might not necessarily be our journey where we find ourselves having to place ourselves symbolically at a man's feet. However, in our relationship with God, that intimacy that we share with Him is able to direct Him into the path that we want to go. And that erases fear, because fear is not of God. So when we go out there purposefully, knowing who we are, we stand, and there's no fear of judgment, there's no fear of being criticized, whatever society say, and you follow God's word.
Yes. So thank you guys. This is an amazing conversation. Y'all, we have to come back.
Okay.
Because I believe that folks enjoyed the conversation. And I hope that you all will enjoy it when those who were not able to watch it live and can watch it live later. This has been incredible.
Indeed.
I've learned so much in studying Ruth and Boaz on a different level and preparing for the conversation and really holding space for her grief. And I think that stood out to me in a different way in this season. So I hope you have found inspiration in the boldness and breakthroughs of Boaz and Ruth's story. As we wrap it up, I want to remind you to join us on Fuse on Facebook, Faith Uniting the Singles Experience. We have a group page, a private group page, and we also have a main page. So that's Fuse, F-U-S-E, Faith Uniting the Singles Experience. And we are on Facebook and Instagram. We ain't that active on Instagram. But I want to thank y'all for coming out. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, team, for this conversation.
Thank you.
And we will see you all next time.
God bless.
God bless you.